Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd, and today I want to discuss the Star Trek Picard series and to speculate about the question whether or not Picard will have Irumodic syndrome in this new show. And for those who don't remember, that was mentioned in the last episode of TNG. When Picard was in the future, he was basically becoming senile, and they called it Irumodic syndrome. And because of that, his friends in the future didn't believe that what he was telling them was actually true. They thought at first that he was just hallucinating all of that. And all of that added some tension to the episode because you could see that other characters did not believe him and might turn against him at any moment. And so this begs the question, will this be somehow addressed in the new show as well? Will they have that element also as part of the show? Maybe he will again be suffering from this disease. Maybe that's why Starfleet turns him down. Maybe that's why they don't give him a ship to go on his mission. So let's first look at the dialogue by Dr. Crusher from that last episode of TNG. She said that she scanned for evidence of it and there wasn't any, but she did find a small structural defect in his brain which could cause him to be susceptible to this kind of neurological disorder like Irumodic syndrome. But she also said that it's possible for him to live with this defect without developing a problem. And even if he does, many people can continue living a normal life for a very long time with this disease. Now, this piece of dialogue is ambiguous enough to allow it to go both ways, meaning on a technical level it will be totally fine if he simply never develops this disease, or that it doesn't manifest itself in time for the show, and so even if it's never addressed, technically it's not a continuity problem, because we know the timeline was changed already. A lot of stuff that happened in that future did not happen in the movies. For example, the Enterprise D was destroyed in the movies and it still existed in that future. And a while ago I made a whole video about that topic trying to explain the changes of both of those timelines, why they are different. So if you're interested in that, I will link that video now and you can click on it and watch it. And I didn't talk about the Irumodic syndrome in that video, so that's what I'm doing now. And I think that it might be possible to prevent it because he has the knowledge of the future, meaning because he knows he has this defect, maybe he will begin all kinds of preemptive treatments to prevent that disease from ever happening. So that's one way to explain why he never got it in this new timeline. The only problem with that theory is that Beverly seems to be very worried in this scene, so even Picard says that she looks like she just signed his death sentence. And so that makes me think that if there was some kind of way to preemptively treat this disease or to prevent it, then why would she be worried? Wouldn't she immediately put him on that kind of treatment and not worry about it? So because she's so worried about it, makes me think that there is no way to prevent it. Now it's possible in the decades to come maybe there will be a way to prevent it and he will still be able to at least postpone it, prolong it, or to live with it better, and so that can explain it. So I think if they never address this in the new show, it's not really a continuity problem. However, I think it would actually be nice to mention that in the show and maybe even to use it in the show at least for one episode, because I simply think it would be an interesting story and it could provide another interesting layer to the character. So I actually think they should use this at least in one episode. Maybe it could explain part of the reason Picard retired. Maybe he doesn't believe in himself. Maybe he thinks his judgment is not perfect because he has that potential of that disease. Maybe Starfleet doesn't believe in him. Maybe that's why they don't help him out in the first episode, and that's why he has to recruit that group of rogues to go on his mission. And it might even add some tension to the show, meaning we will be more on the edge of our seats, not knowing when that disease might erupt. Or maybe it will cause tension between the characters. Maybe some of his crew find out about his disease and that would cause them to mistrust Picard. So it can be used to add some tension, some drama. Maybe Picard will be kind of not believing in himself, being insecure and having to overcome that. But the most interesting idea, in my opinion, is to have one episode in which he will actually kind of go insane. And then we can have that kind of episode in which we, the audience, are also seeing everything from his point of view, and it will make us doubt what's happening as well. Maybe it can be done in a way that we will think that maybe Picard is really hallucinating or having some kind of trouble and hiding it from the rest of the crew, and we'll be seeing everything from his point of view and wondering together with him if what is seen is actually hallucination, or let's say the ship encounters some kind of strange anomaly or some strange aliens. Maybe there's some kind of telepathic attack, but also will not know if maybe it's all in Picard's head or not. So I always love those kinds of episodes and those kinds of movies, so if it's done right, I might love such an episode. I can give you a few examples of movies in which the main character is potentially possibly insane, and yet we don't know it until the very end, or maybe even beyond the end. I think the best such movie was Shutter Island, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but there was that kind of ambiguity to the movie almost until the end. Another good example is Total Recall with Arnold, in which we're wondering if what he experiences in the movie is actually happening or if it's all part of the simulation that he's in. There were lots of movies like that with someone inside the simulation and doesn't know he's in simulation, and sometimes we don't know it, and that makes the movie a lot more mysterious, a lot more interesting, and it also adds rewatchability to it because we always want to go back and see it again to catch all the clues and so on. So I always love those kinds of movies, and almost every big science fiction show did at least one such episode in each series. For example, in TNG there was that episode Frame of Mind, in which Riker was in a mental asylum, and he thought that he's insane, that he never was on the Enterprise, and the episode kept jumping back and forth from reality into that simulation or hallucination. And I remember the first time I saw that episode as a kid, I was fascinated by it because I kind of thought for a moment maybe it really is in his head, maybe the show will suddenly change to a totally different show. So as a little kid I was actually scared of that option. And I remember also such an episode in Stargate Atlantis when Dr. Weir woke up in a mental institute and she was told that there was never a Stargate program, that it was all hallucination, and only in the end of the episode it turned out she was being manipulated. And also the same kind of episode was in Smallville when Clark was in a mental hospital and being told that he never had powers, that he was simply insane and it was all in his head all that time, and he saw clues of stuff, of the fantastical elements of his life in that mental asylum. For example, he saw a soap which was called Jor-El, so he was really starting to believe that maybe his entire life was imaginary. I always love those kinds of episodes and those kinds of movies, so I think if they do a similar idea in this show, maybe later on in the show, I think it might be great to explore that idea, and also the very topic of senility, dementia, and how a character like Picard deals with that, and we as the audience can see it all from his point of view, and it might be very tenseful, might be very dramatic, might be fascinating if they combine it with some science fiction idea, maybe some telepathic aliens attack them, or maybe some special anomalies creating some illogical, bizarre events, and therefore we won't know if it's really happening or if it's his hallucination. So I think if done well, it might be great. And it will also honor that bit of continuity from the original show, because this is something that was mentioned, this is something that was important in that final episode of TNG, and so I think they should include that element. I don't think they have to, I think they can ignore it and it would be fine with continuity, but I would love it more if they do include it, at least some kind of mention of it, and use it for the story somehow, and maybe do it at least in one episode, and use it for some kind of mystery or drama, combine it with science fiction elements. Or if they simply use it for a character development to show that, the clock is ticking, maybe he doesn't have that long to be functioning, so he wants to get things done. So they can do so many things with it, so I actually hope they do exploit this little piece of setup from the show and continue it, provide a proper sequel to that idea. So that's why I think they should do something with it. But even if not, if the show itself will be good, I will forgive this. So I don't think it's a must, it's simply something that I would kind of like to see. But I don't think it's a must. I think if this will be a good show, I will forgive them if they don't use this idea at all, if the show will be good. If the show will be boring and not having any kind of good ideas, then I will complain and say, why didn't you use any of that setup from the show? There were so many things kind of left hanging, so many stories or all kinds of setups from the show that could use a good sequel. So if they don't do that, I might be disappointed. But I'm still optimistic. I really hope this show will be good. So that's my thoughts on this specific topic. Let me know what you think about it in the comments and we can discuss it. Please like my video, please share, please subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.